Welcome to Pegasus Auto Racing. I'm Zach Moore on Techline, and today we're going to talk about silicone hose. This is something that we sell a lot of here. It's a great product that's really required in a grassroots race program. The reason being, you're probably not going to go out and have a bunch of custom hoses made like an OEM would, and standard rubber hose just doesn't cut it. It's not very appealing. It's not really all that durable. It's heavy. It's not that flexible. Stuff like silicone hose really has a great place in a lot of race cars. That being said, there are a lot of different things, and our parts numbering system is actually really easy to figure out once you know how it works. It is important to note that all of our silicone hose, except for our FSHs, which is fuel safe hose, is all in millimeters. So our website does break down pretty well as to what inch correlates to what millimeter. The other thing to note is they're all inside diameters. So if you're using a joiner or a pipe or a tube or whatever that this is going on, you actually measure the hard part, and that's what gives you the measurement. You can't put two of these in one another or anything like that. It just doesn't work. You have to have this going to something metal, solid, plastic, whatever the case may be. All of that aside, we have a bunch of different options here. Not only do we have several different colors, black, blue, red, and this orange, we also have a bunch of different variants, whether it's 135 degree, 150 degree, hump hoses. These are our charge air pipe or charge air cooler hoses. We have those in a couple of different styles. Reducers are used a ton in a race car because you're probably getting a lot of universal products like a universal radiator. And the 1.5 and 1.75 little hose nipples that are welded onto that radiator probably don't match up exactly to what your water pump is or what your expansion tank is or what the case may be. All of that is what drives us to have all of these different pieces here, because building a system like that is very trial and error. It's very you end up buying a lot of stuff and cutting down a lot of stuff. And you can cut these with like an X-Acto knife or a box cutting knife. It does work really well. But all of those things is what makes us need to do this. All that being said, we're going to get into the intricacies and really finite details as to what makes what hose needed or desired versus another one. Starting off with hump hoses. As you can tell, it has a hump. This is typically designed or used in something like turbo systems, where you have an intercooler that's hard mounted on the body and then the engine moves around or the turbo moves around or whatever the case may be. Something like a hump hose gives you that additional flex and movement and the ability to have stuff move around kind of opposite of one another or independent of one another. So hump hoses work really, really well. Feeding off of that, you get charge air cooler pipes. These actually not only have two humps, but they have 3 metal rings. What those metal rings do is they help to keep this very, very boost resistant. We'll call it that. That pressure rating for boost stuff is pretty critical. A lot of the diesel application is in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100 psi of boost pressure, and you really need something that's going to withstand that and hold up to it. That's where these rings for the charge air cooler pipes come in. We also have them as reducers. That's what this would be. This is a straight reducer, so it's got a 3-inch and a 2-inch, so you can hook up one side to another, and it works really, really well. This does still feature those 2 humps, giving it a lot of mobility, as well as those 3 rings. We also have elbows. You never know what intake system you're going to do or what cooling system you're going to do needs an elbow. We got 145s, 180s 45s, 90s, pretty much anything can work with one another. They all have some flex, they all have some give, they all have some bend. They're all designed to be fairly flexible and work really well with one another. If these reducers aren't enough for you, we do also sell reducer sleeves. This actually would go on to that hard metal nipple or pipe or whatever the case may be. And if we can't get down to a far enough reducer size, you can use one of these in combination. So this just takes up the gap. We have them in a lot of different sizes. Everything that we've talked about so far is just for coolant and air. Nothing can touch fuel, or oil. Petroleum products really break down basic silicone very, very quickly. It'll expand and swell and break down and disintegrate and have a lot of problems. It's not rated for any kind of petroleum products. To fix that, we do carry fuel-safe products. These, at least in our product line, have an orange center section. The inside is lined to be able to handle fuel. Where these are typically used would be you're putting a fuel cell in a car, or you're moving around the existing tank, or you're moving the fuel inlet, or whatever the case may be. Typically, you're going to want to use something like this that allows you to relocate that filler neck or the gas cap or whatever the case may be in relation to the tank. Factory pump isn't, or the factory tank or filler neck isn't cutting it anymore, whatever the case may be. A lot of endurance cars use these because they have their fancy dry brakes. So that's great. But what if you want to run a coolant temp gauge? What if you want to run an air temp gauge? Well, then what do? We sell T-hoses. All of our T-hoses have a 1-inch ID on the branch, and then we have several different size run T-hoses. We do not sell this as a reducer or anything like that, but it does offer a great place to put a 1-inch ID, or 1-inch OD in this case, barb fitting that would have a threaded connection to thread in a water temp sensor or an air intake temp sensor, or whatever the case may be that you just need to get in, but it's all a silicone-based kind of system. So that's how we do that. This pretty much covers everything silicone-based that we sell here. There are some other things like joiners and clamps and T-bolt clamps and worm drive clamps and all that good stuff. We'll probably cover that in another video, but today we're really happy with where we're going with this, so we're going to leave it there. If you have any other questions, let us know. Give us a call. We're here for you guys.